drill deep to right field. There it goes. See ya. It's 4-2 Yanks.
I kind of wanted to get a feeling of how your audience has taken this recent downturn, but first you have a event to promote, so I just wanted to throw it back to you and let you kind of promote that a little bit.
Yeah, man. It's been it's been awesome. Like we did a first event at Yankee Stadium in June, and it went really, really well. We were like, you know what? It went well. It was really fun. Let's do something bigger, but more on our end, and let's do it at the end of the quote unquote season for NYY News TV's first full season. And we rented out a venue that's 2,800 square feet, fits a ton of people. Ticket includes food, drinks, all of that. We've gone completely all out on this thing, and man, we're hoping it's going to be fun. It's in Brooklyn. We got a 12-foot by 12-foot screen, so you know if the Yankees are there, hopefully they will be, or playoff baseball in general. We'll have stuff screened that throughout the whole time. This event right here is another chance to let's all meet up. Let's have a great time together. We only do that with the fans.
You know, most Yankees content creators have their niche, right? I'm kind of the post-game guy, but you're definitely the watch party guy. Yeah. I stop in like probably a couple times a week and just watch for a couple innings with the volume muted because you guys are entertaining. Right. So I wanted to kind of throw it back to your audience a little bit. How are they handling this downturn? I know there's probably a lot of overlap, but I sense a lot of panic, a lot of doom on my end. Yep. How are you guys feeling?
Yeah, man, it's a lot of the same thing. I say it all the time during some of these games over the last week or so that have been really dragged out, that the Yankees just do not score, nothing really exciting. I think they went 4 games at one point without a homer, I think it was. And, you know, I say it all the time during the chats. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are doing here because I don't know how you could watch all of this. But, you know, they're always like, well, we're here for the entertainment for you guys. And we appreciate that. But yeah, there's definitely an overall sense of, well, I don't know if we are going to make it. Like, are we even going to be able to get through this? Are the Yankees going to completely collapse? I know yesterday there was a lot of talk of, what do you guys mean collapse? They've already done that. You know, it's already on a downward spiral. They're done. It's over. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more panic right now than there was just a few weeks ago. You know, of course, the lead drops to under 10 games and everybody's nervous about that. But just the overall performance of the team, too, I think has people up in arms a lot.
I think it's funny because before the season, not a lot of Yankees fans were expecting a pennant race. We were kind of expecting to be in like 3rd or 4th place. You know, maybe we get into the wild card game and go out early again, but then we jump off to this historic start, and then we're still not expecting a pennant race because it's like, it's over, pack it in. Yeah. We're just cakewalking the American League. Yep. But now the ship's taking on water, and unexpectedly we find ourselves in a pennant race. And it's like stressful because, I mean, any other given year, like it would be fun. You know what I mean? Like if we had climbed our way up to this point, right? Yeah. If reverse it, let's say we started off poorly. We started off 5-14 instead of having it in August. And then we climbed back and we had a 7 or 8 game lead in August. We would be having a very different conversation right now. We would be saying this team's going all the way. So I just wanted to try and put the perspective on things that, hey, it is a long season and things can change. We might very well get hot again. Yeah. But last week at the stadium, the fire Aaron Boone chants were loud. And then on Paul O'Neill Day, Hal Steinbrenner got booed out of the ballpark. Yeah. Give me your thoughts on all that.
You know, it's deserving. I always say this, you know, people get mad at me sometimes. I always say, you know, if you're paying your way in there, you know, you obviously follow the rules of the Yankees. Don't throw stuff. Don't do that. But you're allowed to voice your opinion and your displeasure with the team. I mean, you know, look, I've been very, very vocal about Aaron Boone over the last couple of years. You know, even as recently as, you know, the time when he smacked the table and all that, you can see he's visually upset. He's obviously angry. And we can all understand that. My concern is, I always bring this up. What does the clubhouse look like doing it in front of the media and making a video clip of it, cute.
Right.
But what is that clubhouse like? Is that same fire being presented to this team? Because look, Aaron Boone he's in a tough spot because, I mean, look, I know they just re-signed him long-term, but if worst case scenario is, I don't think this is going to happen. But if the Yankees collapse down, let's say they get in the wild card or they just collapse totally, I don't know how you would bring Aaron Boone back. I don't know how you would warrant it that say, hey, look, we're going with this guy again after this, maybe the greatest collapse of all time. So I'm not looking at that because personally, I've been telling my fan base, I don't think the Yankees lose the division. I really don't. And I see all the problems. I see, a lot of the issues with the club, but I don't see them falling that way. But when it comes to Steinbrenner, I mean, guys, go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've heard people say, oh, well, it was maybe the wrong time. No, it wasn't. Hey, look, he appears when he appears. Whenever you see him, have fun to boo him. I'm not talking about you see him walking down the street and you just get up in his space. Don't do that. But he's at a Yankee Stadium event. You see the boss on the field. Let him know your displeasure. Look, we are unhappy with this team. That's what it means.
I don't think anybody's going to run into Hal Steinbrenner walking down the streets.
No, not at all.
I'd be surprised if his foot has ever touched the New York City sidewalk. I'd be surprised.
I highly doubt it.
So give me your thoughts on Brian Cashman. I don't think he's signed beyond this year.
Not.
And look, I don't think it's absurd for Yankees fans with the amount of money that we spend on the team and the amount of money that the team spends on players to expect better than one championship in 22 years. I mean, this is a bigger market than that. You've got to bring back 3 or 4. Now he's going to say, well, we got cheated out of it in 2017. He's going to say, well, we had this unbelievable collapse in 04 and we should have won it in 03. And I don't want to hear all of that. I want to hear, what have you done for me in the last 10 years?
Yep.
And I'm not seeing much. So I think Brian Cashman is certainly somebody that's fair game, especially when you look at the reasons for some of these problems over the last couple of years, which is a lack of depth. Yep. Sometimes foregoing the obvious move, the Bryce Harper or the Manny Machado, to try and get creative and maybe overthink the room when you've got a 24-year-old stud that's just going to cost you dollars.
Yep.
So give me your thoughts on Brian Cashman.
No, I'm right there with you. Everything you said really sums it up on my end too, is what I've been, chiming on for a while now, is that Brian Cashman, for some reason, I don't know when this change was made, because I remember under George, even in 09, well, we know what we were sitting back in 09 going, okay, man, they have a chance to get everybody. And they just went out there and said, we'll get everybody and we'll go for it. And it's like, it was guys that it was like, and maybe, what was the point of that? But they were players that we said, yeah, this obviously makes sense. You brought it up. We had Machado. We had Harper. Anybody looks at those moves and goes, you know what? Those make sense. That should be moved.
They could have got both. They could have got both.
And they should have got both. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
When have we become this team that just sits back and goes, you know what? We'll pass. We'll try to be smart and make a cute little move to see how we could fill in the spot. That's not the Yankee way. That's not the way that we grew up on the Yankees.
Right.
It's just not the way it is. And even this past offseason, you could look at it all you want. I know people say, Correa did this, Correa did that. This guy did this, this guy did that. This guy's injury prone. I don't know. Your best answer for your team, when we were just told in November, the players were the issue. The roster needs to be changed. The roster needs to be upgraded. Their answer was Josh Donaldson. $50 million, not $5, $50 million. And Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who we're promised is the greatest fielder in the history of the world. That's why it's a good move. He gets here and he can't field. He's not a great fielder at shortstop. Josh Donaldson, I'll give him his credit. He's been very, very good defensively at third.
Very good.
But he's a shell of his former self when it comes to offensively.
Right.
And, the Yankees went out there and said, we're not going to spend money on this guy or that guy, but we'll give $50 million. We'll commit $50 million over the next 2 years to Josh Donaldson. It's just asinine. It's insane. And that is the problem I have with Brian Cashman. You also look at the bullpen. You got $18 million here, 16 or whatever it is, to Zach Britton. There's a lot of money on this roster. And I hear people say, well, Hal doesn't spend. Yes, he does. That's an expensive roster. But if you look at the roster and go, what does this roster cost? I'd look at it and go, what are they pushing? Like 180, 190? Oh no, 260. Right. Are you out your mind for that? That's my issue with him, is that you said it too, trying to be the smartest guy in the room and looking past the obvious moves. That's an issue. Being scared to make the obvious move during the trade deadline. I don't care what anybody says. And I've said it countless times. People told me, Pete, Frankie Montas is good. Yeah, he's good, but he is not Luis Castillo. I'm sorry. He's not. He's a different pitcher. The one thing that scares me about the Oakland Coliseum, we've seen it a couple of times now, is when you're a pitcher there, and Derek, you notice, pop flies that are usually foul balls are outs. You get a lot of additional outs in Oakland.
Oakland's never had a batting champion, ever.
That's right. How could you? I mean, it's very difficult. You got a huge outfield, but then also the huge foul territory. And when I looked at the splits, I said, you know what? I think this guy is good. But if we're looking for a number 2 behind Cole, I don't think he's going to be it.
Yeah, I think my main hope with Montas, and I still have this hope, is that Matt Blake getting his sort of pitching lab and using it on Montas can kind of unlock something. You heard them talk about this on the broadcast a couple of times, is that he could really use a good changeup. We've seen that Matt Blake is excellent at developing changeups. Yep. Cole throws his changeup a lot more now. Domingo Germán's changeup is very filthy. Yep. Loaizaga had a good one last year. This year, he can't throw it for strikes. But if you can get Montas to the point where he has one more pitch, I think that changes him dramatically. But still, Luis Castillo was the guy. Yeah. You would have had to give up Anthony Volpe. And I don't know that Brian Cashman has that. I don't think he has that card up his sleeve. I don't think he can. He doesn't have the you got to have brass balls to sell real estate.
You got to have big balls. You guys know me. I talk about the balls all the time. You got to have balls.
Hey, shout out to Manscaped. Both of us.
Manscaped. There we go. Yes. They're also partners, by the way. They're really nice.
They're great. They're fantastic. So speaking of Volpe, you went to Somerset recently with your team. Did you get a chance? Was Volpe in the lineup that day?
Yeah. I've seen Volpe a lot this year, actually. I've actually talked to his father quite a bit too. Anthony's a legit prospect, man. If I had one concern about Anthony Volpe, I'll tell you what it is: his size. Being a shortstop, being 5'10". They got him listed at 5'11". He's not 5'11". 5'9", 5'10" tops.
They got that from his dating profile.
Correct. Yes, that's exactly where they got it from. Don't get me wrong. He's a built kid. You could see where he gets his power from and all that. And again, I don't want to sit here and say, well, maybe they should have moved him because I got concerned. No, not at all. I think Anthony Volpe could be good. My concern, and I had back and forth with his father about this, to be honest, is that the Yankees have put an insane amount of pressure on this kid. And let me explain it, because I had to explain this to his dad. It's not pressure that Anthony should be facing. It's pressure that the fans have upon him of what he's going to be. Because look, and people might say I'm wrong. You might say I'm wrong. But if Anthony Volpe comes up and everybody sits back and goes, man, this kid's pretty good. He's a good ball player. I don't think that's good enough. I think fans are going to sit back and go, we were promised an elite player. We've passed on so many elite talents for this guy. He's good, but he's not great. I think that's a concern on my part.
Yeah, I think fans are definitely going to expect him to be great right out of the box. And that might be why the Yankees are kind of holding him back a little bit, because clearly he's playing very well. He's got 40 stolen bases.
Unbelievable.
At Double-A.
Tons of doubles. He's terrific.
He's hitting for power. He's hitting the ball all over the field. He got off to that slow start, but if you look at it since like May, he's hitting 300 essentially.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no question he could play at the Triple-A level right now. I have a feeling that they decided to hold Peraza back until he was ready, and that's kind of keeping Volpe in place. And then when Peraza gets moved up, probably sometime in September, Volpe will take his spot at AAA. And then next year there'll be some kind of a competition for the infield spots. I think ultimately you might end up with Peraza playing short and Volpe playing second because, like you said, the size, the height, he's the prototypical size for a second baseman.
Yes.
And Peraza's a prototypical body type for a shortstop. He's tall and lanky, and he's the better fielder of the two from what we've heard.
Far. Yeah, by far, he is the better fielder. I've seen both of them play quite a bit already, and you could just see now Volpe has really improved as shortstop. Especially his arm speed, and he actually did that in the offseason. He said, "I'm going to go to a pitching, whatever it is, a pitching place where you build up, increase velocity. It's like I want to increase my velocity," and his throwing arm has gotten substantially better. My whole thing with the Yankees is I believe the Yankees will do everything they can to keep him at shortstop just because that's what they promised.
Right.
Now, again, logical thinking would tell you, you know what? Peraza is likely to shortstop. Volpe's likely to second baseman just on body type alone. But you've seen Peraza play a lot more second base this year, and Volpe has barely even touched second base.
Right.
So we'll see where it goes. But, my whole thing with a guy like Peraza is it's just so odd being a fan and watching what this guy is doing. Him and Volpe both got the slow starts, and they have just torn the cover off of the ball over the last couple of months. And to sit back and just say, IKF is the shortstop right now. The Yankees have been struggling. You want to put the best roster on the field. Why is Peraza still in AAA?
Right.
Why is he there for? What's the point?
Well, I will say this. His on-base percentage is not fantastic. And I know the Yankees really value on-base percentage.
Correct.
So I think that they're maybe waiting for him to have, a little bit more control over the strike zone. But I think we have to see him in the next couple of weeks. You got to see
him at some point. You have
They don't want to make it obvious.
It doesn't make sense.
They don't want to make it obvious about the service time thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time. And that's kind of sad. And that goes back to what we were saying before when it comes to how the Yankees have changed since we were younger. I mean, ideas like, service time's going to get in the way. It's like, that was never thought about before. You know what I mean? Service time. What is that? What is service time? But you see, I think the Yankees philosophy is they're trying to mold it off of the way the Dodgers and let's say the Braves do business. The only problem is the Yankees don't execute that philosophy correctly. They just don't do it. They don't execute it the right way. Right. And that's my biggest problem with this front office is not that they're unwilling to spend money. I don't ever talk about that. I think they do spend money. My problem is they don't execute what they want to do the right way. Stop promising us these young players and then just leave them in the minor leagues. What the world is Clark Schmidt doing in AAA?
Clark Schmidt should be in the rotation.
I think
he's better than Domingo Germán, personally.
No doubt about it.
All right. So you mentioned shortstop. We've seen a little bit of Oswaldo Cabrera. He's played all over the place.
Yep.
I think he looks pretty good at shortstop. I think ultimately he makes Marwin Gonzalez expendable when somebody comes back, either Stanton or if you call up Peraza. But give me your thoughts on Mr. Cabrera so far.
Yeah, good old Ozzy. I was supposed to interview him in the offseason. Unfortunately, I didn't make it happen, but he is really good. The one thing that I see about him that I like a lot, because obviously I know people are going to say, well, he's not tearing the cover off of the ball. But the one thing I like a lot is that he does not look overmatched. So at this level right now, whether you want to say, he struck out a little bit, he's on this, that's okay. That's acceptable. That's going to come. But he doesn't look overmatched. He doesn't look like a guy that one is a deer in the headlights. He's made all the plays. He's made some exceptional plays. Right field, shortstop. We saw a Jeter jump throw yesterday. But he's done a really good job in the sense of you can see where his value is going to be with this team. You can see it immediately. Okay, he's played every position, very well. So, right, short, third, second base, he could play too. He could play left. So as a guy that is basically a younger version of Marwin Gonzalez, now we don't know how good he's going to be. Marwin's had a couple of very good seasons. But if he's anywhere along those lines, it is a big win for the Yankees to be in control of somebody like this that can play anywhere and play it well. He's not I would say when he steps into that to the batter circle and he's on deck, he's about to come up, whether there's men on base or not. I don't think you sit there and go, oh man, this guy's up. That's kind of an automatic out. He
Right.
has
Even without the
decent
results so
at-bats.
far, I feel like he's going to have a competitive at bat.
Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. So I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of him.
All right. So two more things I want to get to. First of all, thoughts on Andrew Benintendi so far, and two, thoughts on how Joey Gallo's performance since we moved him. You know, I've seen a lot of people say bring back Joey Gallo, and I just stand by my position that it was never going to work here. Some things just don't work out. Sometimes you just need, like, I need the new apartment, I need a new office, I need I feel like he just needed a change. New York is not for him. LA's, it's more relaxed. The media is not going to jump him if he plays poorly. I just don't think he's a guy who can handle the pressure. But give me your thoughts on Benintendi and Gallo.
Yeah, Benintendi, look, I like this move a lot. I still like this move a lot. My thing with Andrew Benintendi is, and I know, I've gotten some, I don't believe that. Andrew Benintendi is, and you mentioned this before, the Yankees love on-base percentage. He's a high on-base percentage guy, high average guy. He needs to be 1-2 in the order. This idea of batting him 6th, 7th, who's driving him in if he's getting on base? Who's driving him if he's walking? Aaron Hicks? That's not going to happen. I like Trevino, but Trevino's not meant to be in a lineup to be some RBI machine. A guy that gets on base at the clip of a Benintendi needs to be at top of that order. Whether you believe, the new analytic mindset that number 2 should be your best hitter because he gets the most ABs, or if you feel the old school method, well, look, Aaron Judge is the RBI machine, best hitter on the team. He should bat 3rd. Put 2 on base percentage guys, DJ LeMahieu, Benintendi, above him, and let it roll that way. When Stanton comes back, you got multiple chances to score runs. So I just feel like Benny has not been utilized properly. And that's not making an excuse at all. Well, then Pete, wouldn't he still hit? Yes, he would still hit. I'm not taking that away from him. I just think the Yankees aren't putting him in the best position to succeed on this team and in this lineup.
Yeah, right now he's the guy with no protection. Like you said, Aaron Hicks. Who's Aaron Hicks going to protect?
Nobody.
Nobody. You can get Aaron Hicks out, and you can get IKF out. And even if IKF is coming up, you feel like you're going to keep him in the ballpark. So I'm going to pitch carefully to the lefty with power in Yankee Stadium. I'm going to throw him change-ups away, high and away fastball, stuff that he really can't do anything with. Yep. And that's why you're seeing him hit the ball to left field a lot, because he is a guy who hits the ball where it's pitched. But at Yankee Stadium, that's an out most of the time.
Of course.
That's why he's hitting 192.
Right.
But you hit him first in the order, and you got either Judge or LeMahieu or Rizzo, whoever you want to put behind him. It's like, okay, now I don't want to put somebody on before somebody who's going to, definitely have a better chance of hitting the ball out of the ballpark. I got to challenge him. And I think he would be much better suited to the leadoff spot. Now on to Gallo.
Joey Gallo. Look, man, I go back to an interview I did with Kevin Kernan basically right after the trade. And Kevin Kernan brought up a point that nobody at the time was talking about. He said, Pete, I know a little about the situation. And he said this was a purely analytic-based move. It had nothing to do with who Joey Gallo was as a person, because if it did have to do with him being a person, the Yankees would have said, no, this is not a good fit. He can't be here. And again, that just has to do with the mindset of him. He shouldn't be a guy that's in a big market. And apparently, it come to find out now, there was actually concerns about that indie organization of when they got him, that there's, issues already abound in Texas where this guy probably wouldn't play well in New York, or we don't think it'll work out. And it ended up not working out. And Derek, I don't want to give much, Joey Gallo, it's what you said, and you're 100% right. He never would have worked in New York. This is not a big deal. When he got traded, I said, God, he's probably going to play good. Right. He's probably going to do decent. He's a good ball player.
And can we address the fact that he quit on this team? He quit on the team.
No question about it. No doubt about it. There's no doubt about this guy quit on this team. He knew it wasn't going to work. There was awkward times in the dugout. You could even tell where it almost felt like, to the point of, I'm not supposed to be here. To the point of, without even being traded, he was like, yeah, I'm packing my bags already because I know I'm leaving. But, I think he packed his bags even during the offseason. When he had that weird interview, he was like, I know who I am. I'm never going to hit. It's like he was giving you an expectation.
Right.
Like, guys, look, I know I'm a very low average guy. I hit a homer every now and then. It comes with the territory. Just prepare for the worst. You know, that's almost what it's like. It's like, I'd never heard a ball player sit back and be like, hey, look, even if you're a low average guy, you don't hear somebody come out and be like, yeah, I can't hit for shit. You know what I mean? But you know, I'll figure out to hit a homer every now and then, be happy with that. But yeah, a lot of people are still giving so much into Joey Gallo. I'm like, guys, he never would have worked here, you know? And here's another way I looked at it as somebody who's had, you know, who's dealt with some issues on the mental side to a degree of just some sort of mental illness issues. It doesn't work for him. So saying, hey, I want him back. No, it's not a good fit for him mentally and physically. It's not a good idea.
You know who I want back? Jordan Montgomery. I wish I could undo that trade.
Man, I don't know if you might have, a lot of your viewers who follow me probably know this, but I announced that at like 12 p.m. way before, and everybody, it was on Twitter. It blew up on Twitter. I was like, oh, I'm going to kill you if this doesn't happen. But the understanding that I was told when I put this out on Twitter was that they would then go very, very hard after a starting pitcher. First name I was told was Carlos Rodon, and they did try for him, but the idea that the Giants wanted tons of stuff back for him, it never would have worked for anybody. But I remember when it happened, and I did a 5-hour stream that day, and it went past 6 o'clock, and I'm like, all right, well, you know, let's see if maybe it's something late that happens, and nothing happened. And I remember saying, I'm okay with the move because I'm actually a fan of Harrison Bader. I like Harrison Bader a lot. And whenever he's healthy, we'll see what he does. But I said, okay, they're going to call up Clark Schmidt, and that's good. That's the obvious move here. Okay, they didn't get their guy. They're going to go with their. Here's the thing that bothers me so much about Clark Schmidt. If anybody knows anything about Clark, he's been their top starting pitching prospect for years.
Right. He was a first-round draft pick.
Yes. And he needed surgery, and the Yankees were like, no, this kid's that good. We'll let him get his surgery. We'll draft him first. And when he's ready, he's ready. The guy is finally healthy. He comes up to the majors, and he looks good whenever he pitches. Now there's a possibility they may call him back up, but he'll be in the bullpen.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there looking around like, why do the Yankees do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
you know what's funny is the metrics that they're in love with love Clark Schmidt.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Look, when he first came up, he had some command issues. I broke this down. You know, he was opening that front side too much, and he had that problem that a lot of right-handed pitchers have, that I think Frankie Montas has a little bit, where you miss up and arm side because you break down that front side too early.
Right.
But he corrected that. He corrected that in the bullpen, and this year he's been on the money. I think he would have a lot of success if you brought him up in the major leagues. He's having success in AAA. I think for some reason they're just being a little bit skittish about, you know, trusting him because of the results he's had in the past.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. And this again goes back to the issue that I have with this team, with the philosophy of them, is you cannot promise us prospects. You can't promise us these guys are great. We're going to miss on this. We're going to miss it because we have these guys. It's like I said in the rant video. Then can I see them play, please? That's all I want. I'm not going to sit here and bitch, complain, and moan and make rant videos if you guys just do what you're promising us to do. And we all know it. Domingo Germán doesn't have a huge future on this team, but we're told that Clark Schmidt does. And Jameson Taillon's going to be a free agent. Why would you not want to see what your right-hander could do that you're saying is a potential frontline type guy? That's what we heard for years. If that's the case, I want to see him pitch. And like you said, when we've seen him pitch, you can see this stuff and say, you know what? I could see this guy being very good for this team for a long time. But he's in he's in AAA. He's in AAA, and maybe he'll get a call up here with the potential entry to Efros. And, you know, we'll see what happens if they bring him up to maybe spot start or start a little bit, but probably coming out the bullpen again eventually, because that's the way of the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, unexpected pennant race, but hopefully we come out on top. Should be fun either way. Pete, I appreciate you taking the time today. One more time, the date of your event, October 11th.
October 11th, everybody. It just so happens to be game 1 of the ALDS potentially, but we will see. But on top of that, it is a celebration of NYY News TV's first overall season, quote unquote. and really just a celebration for the fans and everything they have meant to us and done for us. We like to do these type of events, and yeah, it's going to be an absolute party. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Live, we'll be hosting it, giveaways, all that fun stuff. It's going to be a great time.